but I'll admit that I'm nostalgic for it. I would watch the episodes again and again and again when I was a kid, so my soft spot will always be for... Odd, I thought I put it on silent mode. Hello?
Oh, thank God, I finally reached you!
Tyranny?
Yes, Flowergothic, I've been kidnapped by this beast! She's forcing me to marry against my will and...
Okay, who kidnapped you and why is she forcing to marry? Oh, it all makes sense now. I never thought I'd have to deal with you again, Flowergothic.
Please tell her that I'm not meant to marry Dodgers.
Oh, honey, you two are meant to be.
Stop trying to control my life! You do not know what I've had to go through every day of my life while I was stuck in your world!
Stop! I know what will happen if Tyranny marries Dodgers. I know her fate if she takes that path. Bullshit. Prove it. I never thought I'd have to do this. I never thought I'd have to see you again. Here goes nothing.
8 hours later.
A book? How will a book prove your point? Will you shut up? I never thought I'd have to share this. I was obsessed with this fanfiction as a kid. I took it as a gospel for what the future would hold for the Martian Queen.
My future?
If you were to wed Dodgers, yes.
I'm interested.
Fine. I guess we can delay the ceremony for this. Okay. Here goes nothing. Prince of Mars is a 2010 fanfiction from fanfiction.net, written by the then-named Girl with No Life. It played with Danger Duck's orphan past, establishing him as the Prince of Mars and making him emo. More on the book proper later.
So that duck boy will be my son?
Yes! The fanfiction also has an abandoned sequel, which we will not go over because it's irrelevant. Girl with No Life has 3 other aliases: Rashwanu, She Who Eventually Writes, and Wild Whimsy Angel. She frequently made fan art and videos about her work, and that's how I found her. At this point, she's really only active on DeviantArt and TV tropes, but when I found her in 2010, I was captivated by the video Danger Duck's Lullaby, which reintroduced me to Lunatics Unleashed. Before that, I thought it was nothing but a fever dream when I was 7. And I got hooked to her fanfiction. I genuinely believed what Rashwanu was saying was divine word of God. And I still do! Just play along, Julia. Get her to relent. I am not kidding.
pretty obsessive. How obsessive? I practically plagiarized the story and claimed I was the long-lost Princess Madison Lucette of Mars, and that Danger Duck was my half-brother.
I want to elaborate on these delusions in a future video, but for now, I will say that in my version, Duck had the power of fire and Madison entered a relationship with Ace at 14, when he was canonically in his 20s. That didn't age well. Luckily, I grew out of that phase by the time I was 13. But I want to understand, why? Why did I love this fanfiction so much? Why did I take it as gospel? What did she say?
That this is gospel.
Let's find out. The story begins in 2753 on the city planet of Acmetropolis. Where else? We zoom in on an orphanage run by an old cat, the descendant of Cool Cat, perhaps, and a human woman. They have some silly exposition about their marriage that isn't really important, but then a shooting star appears.
Oh, look, a shooting star. Make a wish, dear.
She quickly folded her hands and wished.
I wish we could fix that old dishwasher so I wouldn't have to wash the dishes by hand anymore.
Then she turned to her husband, whose eyes suddenly widened.
What do you wish for, dear?
I wish for the shooting star not to hit the building. Look out!
The cat shielded his wife just as a bright light hit the ground in front of the orphanage, sending a large explosion of light that went on for many blocks. When the light died down, the couple cautiously stood before walking towards the window. There they saw what seemed to be an escape pod of some sort.
Oh my!
The wife gasped. Her husband went out the kitchen door and approached it, curious about this strange thing. He had obviously never heard the old saying, "Curiosity killed the cat." When he was close enough, the pod suddenly opened, and through the smoke he heard a crying that he had become accustomed to over his long years. A baby crying.
That's right, this duck baby, Danger Duck, just came out of fucking nowhere! Is he an alien?
Now, Mary, just because he came in a pod from outer space does not mean he's an alien,
The woman said, as she took the small duckling, who was still crying.
So, what do? Well, 19 years later, even though most of Lunatics Unleashed was in 2773, we cut to after Lunatics Unleashed ended. They're the Guardians of the Galaxy, universe now, and they need to meet with other world leaders because... United Nations. I will admit, so far the Lunatics are in character here. Duck complains, Rev talks fast, Lexi is girl, etc. The sad thing is that several fanfictions tend to leave the characters out of character. From My Immortal to the Queen fanfiction. Shut the fuck up! No celebrity would adopt a random person after knowing them for a day! Anyway, everything is in order as it should be. But not for long! We then meet one of our two original characters, the fierce, formidable, glamour model Gem! Not that one! This Gem looks like Jessica Rabbit in Hollywood. I know this because both are used in Rashuanu's official fanfiction music videos. Also goes by the name Kala Mity. Throughout this video, I'll simply call her Kala for simplicity. So Kala and Duck have a history. What kind of history? Observe.
Still tripping over your own 2 feet, quackers?
He heard a female voice say. He turned his head, and his eyes widened when he saw a curvy tangerine redhead laughing at him. The woman was very beautiful, and held curves that men dreamed about. Now, usually when Duck saw a woman like this, hearts would fill his eyes, his mouth would be drooling like a dog, and his heart would be doing flips that could win the Olympic gold's first place trophy. However, Danger's mind was too busy running with memories of his childhood.
No way.
He exclaimed as he scrambled up, his armor clanking together as he did.
Jim?
The woman smirked, and her bright blue eyes danced in the sunlight.
Well now.
She purred as she touched her gloved hand to her full pouty lips.
Never thought I'd see you here. My, the people you meet when you travel.
What are you doing here?
Duck yelled, his eyes wide. When he was a child, Jem used to be a girl at the orphanage who used to boss him and Pinkster around like they were her slaves. Even after she had been adopted, she would come to the orphanage and ask if he had been adopted or not.
I was invited, Quackers dear. Unlike some mammals, people love to see me and my gorgeous self.
Jem cooed as she thrust her hip towards him.
A few moments later.
Yee-yow!
He cried with joy when he saw it. His eyes rolled like the slot machines in Vegas until they stopped on emeralds.
Yowzers, that's the biggest emerald I've ever seen. Where the heck did you get it?
Let's just say I have a special touch.
Jem grinned as eyes flashed for a moment.
But such a trinket is nothing to a princess such as myself.
Yeah.
Duck sighed in annoyance. During their childhood, Jem was always calling herself a princess and acted like a spoiled little one, always demanding that she gets what she wants when she wanted. That attitude had made her many enemies, but Jem was always clever and strong enough that no one could ever even touch her. That, and she usually used Pinkster and Duck as shields.
So seriously, where'd you get it?
I told I'm a princess, dummy!
Jem pouted as she whipped the emerald away from Duck, who was drooling over it with greedy little eyes. He fell forward into the stone path when the jewel was whipped away from him.
I'll have you know that I am now the ruler of one of the war planets known as Carvia. By the way, I am known as Kala Mity now.
Carvia? You're the ruler of a workout?
Duck blinked. Kala Mity twitched in annoyance. Over the year they had been apart, she had forgotten how annoying Duck could be.
That's cardio, you overgrown chicken!
She yelled as she yanked the leashed stone into the air just before bringing it down upon Duck's head.
This causes some shenanigans and allows Tweetums to give us some relatively important exposition about the world building this author decided to take.
Today, the princess from a war planet is coming, and if we mess up, it could be very bad. That's why it's important Mr. Duck is here.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask, what's a war planet? Who is the princess? Why are both so important?
Rev asked in his usual quick tone.
A war planet is a planet that invades other worlds and conquers them. So far, there are 8 war planets: Mars, Carvia, Pluto, Likujo, Uraba, Erica, Yu, and Waruku.
Tweetums explained.
Carvia is a very powerful planet and recently has become the richest planet in the galaxy. If we can truly make peace with them, it would be great.
Yep, war planets. Not even fanfiction can add complexity to the setting. And Kala, in the past year, defeated the Serpent King and became the Queen of Carvia. How? You'll find out later. Note to self, prog rock song idea, the death of the Serpent King. When the rest of the loonies meet Kala, they instantly trust her. Doesn't seem like something they'd do. Wait! To be honest, I feel bad for Duck here. They don't believe him when he says she's nothing but trouble, but there's no reason not to trust him. Kala acts all nice to everyone, and almost everyone falls for it. But guess who's also there?
Everyone slightly turned their heads towards the knight she spoke of, and IQ felt his heart give a leap of fright as he leaped up and exclaimed,
Dodgers?
The tangerine duckbill, those dark feathers, that cocky look. IQ couldn't believe it.
After all these years, he's still alive? That means he took 19 years of vacation,
he thought, almost angrily.
That's right! Our favorite red-haired scientist, Dr. IQ High, is back! And he seems to recognize Duck, thinking he's Duck Dodgers. So we catch up on what happened to Dodgers. He somehow got noted as a war hero and then vanished at around the time Duck was born. I wonder if this'll be important. Back to the meeting. Kala expresses her desire to have peaceful relations with the UN, and they decide to give her a task to prove her intentions. She is to go to Mars and retrieve Earth's generator.
As a precautionary measure and to show my trust in the Princess of Kavia, I will send my knight, Sir Duck, to assist her and make sure she doesn't cause any trouble,
he said.
What?
What?
Duck and Gem exclaimed. Did this bird lose his little bird brain mind?
You've got to be kidding me.
Duck cried as rushed to Tweetums and slid to his knees. Gem was bad enough when they were kids. Now she has some weird superpower and an army?
I'm begging you. I'll bathe you. I'll do anything.
Your Highness,
Kala sneezed out as politely as she could.
I'm sure Sir Duck would be more help here with you, far away from me. Why not simply send this cutie?
She said, as placed a finger under Slam's chin. Kala had a plan, and she for a fact that Duck would ruin it. He ruined everything. Slam swooned a little, and Duck could see the little hearts float from him.
Oh, brother,
he thought.
That's a great idea! You can take all the lunatics to assist you, and Sir Duck can be your personal guard,
Tweetums said.
And yep, the lunatics have to tag along because Tweetums said so. He is still a shitty royal, and it goes to show why the monarchy should be abolished. Even the Swedish princesses and the chats they married. I'm sorry, I said it. Sue me. We get a look at Carvia's impressive weapon collection, see that the lunatics still don't believe Duck, and use Duck's interdimensional crystal from the last 2 episodes of the series to travel to Mars. But before they go, IQ gets a sample of Duck's DNA because he can't get the similarities out of his head. I wonder if this'll be important. So they get to Mars, and everyone sans Duck and Kala go to retrieve the generator, which leads us to... Now is a good time to discuss Kala and her relationship with Duck. Why? Well, first off, the next portion of the book is just the lunatics and some Carvian snake guards trying to find the generator, and nothing interesting really happens. Except that we learn that Melvin the Martian is Commander X2's son, apparently. And second off, it's important to delve into this OC because she's a major character.
So wait, if I marry Dodgers, Commander will have found love elsewhere?
Yes! Okay, then she should marry Dodgers. The commander will have a nice relationship. I didn't say it was a happy relationship. The commander's wife died prior to the fanfiction, and he is very torn up about it. All right. That's not a part of the story, by the way. The commander's wife is never mentioned. Kala and Duck teleport to Mars because the former wants to find the Spring of Youth. Remember from that one episode of Duck Dodgers?
It is a special water.
Ducks love water.
It will be a one-of-a-kind mineral spring.
Okay.
That flows deep beneath the empirical enemy in Martian Palace.
During their misadventures, we get a deeper look into their history and Kala's true nature.
No.
Kala said simply.
Haven't you learned anything over the years, you silly goose? You can never have enough.
Duck ran a hand through his feathers as he remembered asking the same thing as a kid.
She'll never change,
he thought with a sigh.
Besides, how can you follow that little jackrabbit anyways? I thought wanted to be a leader, not a follower.
Huh?
Now it was Kala's turn to sigh.
You're an idiot, Quackers, but since you never made it to middle school, I suppose I can't blame you.
Then she pulled out a long pointer and a chalkboard. From where, Duck couldn't tell.
So, I'll educate you. Lesson number 1. If you want to become something, you have to act like it,
she explained.
For example, I wanted to be a princess, so I acted like one. Yes, it made me a lot of enemies, and now everyone either fears or despises me. But guess what? I'm an actual princess now. You want to be a hero, yes? Not only that, but you want the leader, correct?
Maybe.
Duck muttered.
No maybes, Quackers. Either do or you don't.
What does it matter? Okay, so what if I do? Even I act like the leader, it won't change the fact that I'm not, because the others won't accept me as one.
Which brings us to lesson 2. Do whatever it takes to get what you want.
Kala purred.
So what is Kala trying to do? Well, wait a second, Flowergothic. This was supposed to be about why the queen should not marry daughters. What are you talking about? Some random sexy girl. I'm bisexual. Because for years, I have deeply studied Kala's character. I wondered, why does she act the way she acts? And what did she have to sacrifice to get into her position of power? And even, is she insecure about herself? I have pondered these questions and how they pertain to her end goal, and I want to share my knowledge on her with the world. As mentioned before, Kala and Duck grew up together in the orphanage. They remained in this bizarre power struggle bond for years to come, with Duck continually serving Kala and even losing his virginity to her. Think of it like a bickering couple who don't realize how much they love one another. They can't stand each other, but they can't live without each other. But what does Kala want? What's her end goal? What's her backstory? Well, I'll tell you. Kala had a troubled childhood. She was neglected by her mother and told she had to look pretty to get what she wanted.
Her mother said as she popped her lips.
You have to look pretty if you want people to love you.
Really?
Jem asked as she tilted her head.
Of course. Take those princesses you love to read about. What's the first thing you noticed about them?
Jem looked thoughtful.
That they're pretty?
She said.
That's right. That and they're rich. That's what makes everyone love them.
But I thought it was because they were nice.
Jem's mother let out a laugh.
Who cares about nice? That's what ugly people say, darling.
She said as she slipped on her high heels.
Tell me, do you really believe that heroes would really fight a dragon for a pig? Of course not. It has to be a fair maiden, or no deal. Simple as that. You see, hon, the only thing that matters is if you got the right stuff and you can use it.
She explained as she patted her curves. Jem touched her own curves, only to find she didn't have any. She feel her bones, though, for she wasn't feed that much.
Am I pretty?
She asked.
No. You look like a horrid skeleton. Sorry, dearie. No prince is ever gonna save you. Ugh. If I weren't your mother, I wouldn't save you either.
Her mother replied with a little laugh.
And that's why Kala desired to be a princess. so she herself could be seen as desirable. She became a material girl and wore makeup from a young age, just so she could see herself as beautiful. She even dyed her hair its signature red, though it later inexplicably turns back to blonde, to repress her insecurities. But behind her meanness, her manipulation, and her ego, she's just an insecure girl who still loves Danger Duck. Why? Perhaps it's because he was one of the few people who was always with her. Perhaps it's because she saw them like Bonnie and Clyde. After all, it was her who taught Duck to use his brain to get adopted. It was her who beat up all the bullies that went after him in Pinkster. It was her who checked up on them after she got adopted to make sure they were okay. And it was her who got him his pool boy job. But she vanished when the meteor struck in 2772. What changed in that year, and what is she after? Let's find out.
No! No finding out! Where is Dodgers? We need to get to Dodgers!
Okay, let's put it to a vote. All in favor of diving into Duck and Kala's relationship, raise your hand. Fine. Thank you.
10 seconds later.
So, during their adventure, Kala starts to manipulate Duck, telling him that the other lunatics are laughing behind his back and that he can be much more powerful if he just trusts her. And here is where we find one of the inconsistencies with Kala. She's a bitch to Duck, but makes him infinitely more powerful by this.
Duck,
She sighed.
I know I'm bitch, okay? I won't deny it, but after the comet hit, I changed. I swear I did. Now, I just want to make up for all the things I did to you.
Duck stared at her. On her face was a look he had never seen her wear. It was a look of pain and regret. Duck never knew she could have a look like that.
So what?
He finally said.
You're not gonna torture me anymore?
Hell no!
Kala said.
I'm still gonna make you wish you were never born. I'm just going to do something nice once in a while so I don't feel bad.
You're despicable.
He growled. Then he stared at the jewel. Honestly, he couldn't see if she was lying or not. For all he knew, she could be setting him up. But on the slight chance she was telling the truth, he could finally be a leader. And best of all, he would no longer be second-rate to Ace.
Well, if she's lying, I can just kick her ass.
He thought, as he removed the gem from his neck.
Alright, I don't trust you, but I will grant you the great honor of making me more powerful, if that's possible.
He said, as he reluctantly handed it to her.
All right, dear.
She smirked as the royal gem began to glow brightly in her touch.
Now get ready, 'cause this going to hurt more than anything you've ever felt in your life.
With that, she slammed the jewel into his chest, and an unimaginable pain filled Duck's entire body.
So it's clear that she doesn't straight up hate Duck's guts, but that meteor clearly changed her. She gained a form of psychokinesis that allows her to manipulate gems. And as we see here, she also has power bestowal and augmentation. Really? Well...
Huh?
Suddenly, Duck was surrounded by Martian robots.
Whoa, where did these freaks come from?
They were attracted by your cries of pain, wimp!
Gem explained as she tugged at a strain of her hair.
Anyway, this is your chance to prove that you really are a hero and defeat these 10 heads while defending poor defenseless little me.
Duck glared at her as she gave him a cute look.
Defenseless? Ha, you're as defenseless as a snake.
The robots then started blasting at them, and when Duck saw that Kala wasn't going to protect herself, he quickly shielded her and teleported away behind a large rock.
Hey, if you're planning on standing around looking sexy, stay here.
He quacked away again and appeared above all the robots, where he conjured his magma eggs.
Okay, Circus, time to send you back to the shop.
He threw them, and much to his surprise, one egg was enough to create a large explosion that not only took out the droids, but created a large crater that was deep enough to create a water park.
Whoa!
He gasped as he landed, staring at his still glowing hands.
Did you see that, Jimmy? That was awesome. One hit and look. Oh yeah, I am the best.
Kala grinned as she watched him congratulate himself.
You're welcome, Ducky,
she said.
Kala also has fond memories of Duck. She gave him the coin he used to get adopted. She beat up anyone who bullied him. She even let him live at her place and kept a crown he made for her for years. Is she a tsundere? No, I think she's more complicated than that. When I originally wrote the notes for this fanfiction, I labeled Kala as an asshole with no hope for redemption. I mean, she's still an asshole, but she has a hidden fondness for Duck that, well, I can't go on. That'd be a spoiler. Let's check in with everyone else. Oh, thank God. Shut up! At around this time, we finally see Queen Tyranny and learn her motive for attacking Earth. After Dodgers vanished, she felt betrayed as he fled with their child, and both have been presumed dead. Her husband turned his back on her, and her child died. I'll give you 3 guesses as to who the child is. Time's up! Meanwhile, the dysfunction junction of the Lunatics and the Carvians are found by the Martians, and of course, you know, this means war. During the fight, however, Tech gets a call from none other than IQ, who confirms that Duck Dodgers is Danger Duck's father, and Tyranny is his mother. Who would have known?
Ace and Slam prepared themselves to fight, but Tech simply stood his ground as he folded his arms with a confident smirk.
Oh, I don't think so,
he said.
Oh, really?
X9 frowned.
And what makes you think that?
Because you wouldn't dare blast the friends of your long-lost prince,
he replied. At this, everyone stared at him with wide, confused eyes. Even his friends stared.
This leads to a tactical advantage. How?
Ace gasped. Holy cow! Duck was a Martian prince? What was the universe coming to?
Surprised me too,
Tech said.
I for one am not eager to tell him.
Wait a minute. How do we know you're not just making this up?
X9 interrupted.
The prince has been missing since the day of his birth, and all of a sudden he shows up? Sorry, unless you can prove this is genuine, I'm not buying it. Then maybe we should let you examine the merchandise yourself.
Ace said.
You can do your own DNA test on it and see if we're telling the truth or not. Then Duck can order them to give us generator, and we can go home with a job well done.
He silently added. X9 frowned, thinking this over. If by the off chance that they were telling the truth and he didn't tell the queen, she would have his head. Or worst, he'd lose his promotion he was so close to gaining.
Tyranny agrees to see Duck for some reason, and he and Kala come crashing in while trying to find the Martian springs. He gets to endure some painful DNA tests, and through them, we learn what we've already known.
Well, we did every test we could. There's no doubt, my queen, he is most definitely your son. And our prince.
X2 said, looking as if he was going to be blown up.
My son?
Trirani said as her voice filled with emotion. Then she leapt from her throne and embraced her long-lost son.
My baby, you're actually here? You're actually home with me?
Duck was startled at first. Then he realized that this woman was his mother. This woman was actually his mother.
Mom.
As the mother and son embraced, the lunatics smiled happy for their friend. Even X2 was happy for his queen. Kala's expression was unreadable as she looked away. She wasn't mad or anything, it just hurt to see the two for some reason. In the shadows, however, there was one person who was not happy at this reunion at all.
Kala's discomfort doesn't come without reason. Remember how she was abandoned by her birth mother? Imagine the pain she feels when she sees her Duck reunite with his. She has no real family after all. As for the shadow in the distance, we'll get to him. He's not important right now. How are we all feeling? Just get this bullshit over with, please. Fine. Tyranny privately reveals to Duck what allegedly happened to Duck Dodger's space hero.
He was blown up when he tried to run away with you.
At this, Duck's eyes widened and the Queen continued.
My guess was that he had become tired of me and that he planning to take you to Earth so he could get hot dates. But that man never could drive. He crashed into a meteor. I thought you were dead this whole time.
Duck stared at his mother sadly.
Mom.
She shook her head and hugged him.
None of that matters now.
She said,
You're home. That's all that matters.
So why would he abandon everything he had with the Queen to start anew with cute babes? Did that even happen? We'll find out. Through the princely reveal and Kala's manipulation, however, Duck acts rather cold-heartedly to Ace once he asks for the generator. I mean, he finally has a home and a birth mother. But remember what Kala told him. If Duck full-heartedly hated Kala, would he have believed her in the first place? Is there a smidgen of him that trusts her and knows deep down she is a good person? Anyway, Duck asks for the generator and Tyranny says no. And through this, we learn that Kala and Duck are legally married. Let me explain. It was mostly a marriage of convenience. Duck realized he could get a lot of money and gifts at a wedding, so he talked Kala into it. Then their gifts were stolen. Then they got arrested. That's all Duck says was to it. But why did Duck specifically marry Kala? If he truly hated her, wouldn't he have tried to find someone else to marry? He's egotistical enough to fucking try. Ace, however, is still pissed about Duck's sudden change in personality, and the two duke it out with the most powerful weapon, words!
Duck went into a long daze and Ace literally had to shake him out of it.
First, you need to get some serious therapy, Doc. Second, never mind all that. Did you get the generator?
He asked.
Huh? Oh, no.
Duck!
I can't help it. She's as stubborn as me.
Duck said.
But no worries. When I'm officially crowned king, I'll just give you the thing. For the low, reasonable price of $80,100.
At this, everyone glared at him.
Okay, I'll get Kala to help me. She always manages to get people to do what she wants.
Ace sighed angrily as he walked away.
Whatever.
Was all he said.
Good luck with your new life.
Huh? Hey!
Duck quacked in front of him.
What's with you?
Nothing. Don't you have to get your head measured for your new crown?
Ace huffed as he pushed him out of the way.
Oh, I get it. You're jealous.
Duck accused.
What?
You're jealous that now I'm finally higher rank than you.
What?
You're jealous that for once I'm actually better than you.
Careful, Duck. All that hot air is clouding your thinking.
Ace shot back.
Au contraire, Ace. The fog in my mind is finally clearing.
Duck yelled.
For once, I'm not second rate and you can't handle it.
Okay, you two.
Rev said.
Let's just calm down.
Neither of the two listened to him, though.
First off, what the hell are you talking about? And just because you get a planet doesn't mean you're better than me.
Ace yelled.
Oh yeah? Then why don't we have a friendly duel? Then we'll finally see who's better.
Duck snapped.
Stop, you two!
Lexi yelled, but once again, the two didn't listen.
You're on. Just don't start whining when I polish your throne with you.
Ace yelled.
So you admit that you will be polishing my throne.
Duck huffed.
See you in an hour.
With that, he quacked out of the room.
Ace!
Lexi yelled as she grabbed his shoulder.
What are you doing?
Deflating his big head.
Ace snapped.
Someone needs to tune down his ego.
He's Duck.
Tech injected.
His ego's always been big. It would take a galaxy to tune it down. What's with you? His ego never bothered you before.
Maybe I've just finally had it with him. You know what? Maybe it's best if he leaves the team. Then we won't have to put up with him no more.
With that, he pulled away from Lexi, who stared at him with a shocked expression.
You can't mean that.
She said.
Kala still wants that edge over Duck though, so she talks him into duking it out with Ace on the palace grounds. And this scene goes to show how far down the deep end Duck has gone because of this one crazy day. Did I mention this all happened in a day? It does.
Duck took lead through a punch which Ace easily ducked before delivering a swift kick to Duck's ribs. Duck stumbled back, then quacked behind Ace to deliver a kick of his own, but Ace, who had spent much of his time training and practicing martial arts, saw this coming and managed to grab Duck's leg and threw him into a statue. Duck let out a grunt as he collided with the statue.
Damn it,
he thought. He didn't have to look up to know that Ace was smirking at him, laughing at him.
it always turns out this way. Somehow, that stupid rabbit always ends up on top somehow.
Duck clenched his fist as his something inside of him began to pulse. Duck guessed it was the royal jewel.
But not this time.
Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he vanished, only to reappear beside Ace, who received a swift, powerful kick to the gut. Ace stumbled but didn't have time to recover before Duck began a swarm of onslaughts.
The hell?
Ace thought as he blocked.
When did Duck get so fast?
He finally managed to catch Duck's fist and aimed his palm at his shoulder, but Duck sidestepped it. Then he moved behind Ace, where he aimed his own palm at his back. Ace went flying with a cry, but managed to catch himself as he rolled. Ace charged at Duck, then did a jump kick, which he blocked with his arm.
Whoa!
Lexi said as she and the others watched the fight.
When did Duck get so good at fighting? Did he take some super pills or something?
This doesn't make any sense.
Tech said with a frown.
How could he suddenly get so strong?
It's a real mystery, isn't it? And I told you!
Kala said with an innocent grin. Then she turned to X2.
It's too late to change your bets now! You should have known better!
Oh, come on.
X2 pressed.
I forgot who his father was and placed my bet based on facts.
Ace grunted as he and Duck broke apart. He was panting now while Duck looked perfectly fine.
No way.
He thought as he stared at Duck.
Wasn't it just a few days ago when we were saving his butt? Now he's kicking mine.
Duck put a hand to his chest as he felt his heartbeat.
I can't believe all this power swirling inside of me, and it's all mine.
He charged forward at Ace with a punch, who grabbed his arm just before flipping him.
Something's not right.
He thought as he rolled away.
There's no way Duck could have gotten so strong in just one day.
Duck jumped up and then kicked Ace in the chest, sending him rolling across the courtyard, and before he could hit anything, Duck appeared behind him and kicked him in the back.
Finally.
Duck thought as he delivered a flood of kicks.
Things are different now. I am no longer at the bottom of the barrel.
He ducked as Ace tried to hit him.
No more being pushed around, no more being laughed at or pitied.
He tried to do a sweep kick, but Ace flipped over it.
And no more being second rate to anyone.
Suddenly, Duck summoned his magma eggs and threw them at Ace, who had to pull out his guardian sword to protect himself. From the outside, Lexi let out a scream as the blast came towards them, but Kala tossed a jewel in front of them, which created a dome around Ace and Duck so their attacks could not reach them.
What's happening?
Lexi yelled. Inside the dome were flames that roared loudly, so Lexi couldn't hear anything, and the smoke that now filled it clouded their visions.
Duck, stop it! This is going too far!
Ace yelled. Though the smoke was heavy and thick, Ace wasn't affected by it, probably because the sword's power was protecting him somehow, but he still couldn't see through the smoke.
What's wrong? Can't take the heat?
He heard Duck's voice say from behind. He flipped over Duck as he attacked, then landed behind him.
Duck, what's wrong with you?
Ace yelled. Duck threw another egg at him, and he used the guardian sword to cut it in half. Tar exploded from it, and Ace found himself trapped in it.
What's wrong?
Duck repeated as Ace struggled. Using the power of the guardian sword, Ace freed himself and was now looking for Duck through the flames.
Nothing's wrong. For the first time in my life, everything is right.
He heard Duck say through the flames.
I have a family, a home, and I am no longer second banana to you.
Suddenly, Duck appeared out of the flames and tackled Ace to the ground.
But you can't stand that, can you? Because now you can't look down on me anymore.
The dangerous Duck we grew to love is dead. Thanks to finding his birth family and Kala's proven influence over him, he has become a broken, power-hungry shell of his former self. Tyranny, however, is none the wiser. She even congratulates him once the fight stops, by Ace getting knocked unconscious. They celebrate by making plans in the throne room until the shadowy figure makes his debut.
Suddenly, the large doors swung open and a tall, muscular alien marched in.
I wouldn't get your seat fitted just yet, my prince, for you might not even become king.
Who is he for, and what does he want? What is his motive? We'll find out. Because of this newfound limitation, Duck must go on a quest to prove his worthiness for the throne. But what?
What do you mean I might not become king?
Duck scoffed as C4 approached.
My mom's the queen, and if I recall correctly, that makes me the prince, therefore next in line to be king.
True, your highness. However, to be the Martian ruler, you must be a Martian.
C4 said.
We made that rule when your mother almost married your father the first time. You are only half Martian, therefore unqualified to be king.
That's absurd!
The queen exclaimed.
Ah, but it is the law.
C4 said as he held up a book. Duck suddenly quacked next to him and grabbed the book.
Let me see that.
He read the law and was very offended until he found something.
Aha! Not so fast, no-face. It says here that I perform a deed which proves that I am fit to be ruler. I can become king.
Excellent, my son!
Triarani said as she clasped her hands together.
Bah, what deed do you expect to do that is great enough to make you king?
C4 scoffed.
How about finding Spectra and bring back the fabled Diamond of Light?
Kala suddenly said from the doorway.
Find what and bring back what?
Duck blinked as her.
Spectra is a planet that has been lost for thousands of years.
The queen explained.
And the Diamond of Light is what gives light to the sun, moon, and stars. If anything were to happen to it, all the light in the universe would vanish. If retrieving that doesn't make you a king, nothing will.
Impossible. He'll never be able to find it.
So is the fact that he's married to me, but he is, isn't he?
Spectra, the light of the world, the home of the Diamond of Light. Will he find it? Of course he fucking does, thanks to his newfound powers and subsequent ego boost. But where does that leave the lunatics? They stalk him on Kala's ship once Ace wakes up, as she just insists on coming with. After all, diamonds are a girl's best friend. Except mine. Do not give me diamonds, I will hit you. But sadly, we must put happiness aside, as the darkness within this book looms near.
Darkness?
Blah, blah, blah. Get on with it! While looking for the fabled Diamond of Light, Danger Duck separates from the group, but is stalked by none other than C4. The latter attempts to kill him. Why?
What is this? Star Wars?
The Martian prince cried as he ducked it. He quacked away, but the general was fast and skated to where he was. Duck managed to flip over the general's attack and slid away.
So I take it you and my dad weren't the best of friends?
He asked as he slid away. Crouching, he let out a little squawk as his back hit a stone.
Let's just say he was a fool to the end,
C4 said as he stabbed at Duck, who maneuvered himself around the stone.
which is lucky for you, because if he wasn't, you would be dead.
Oh my, we're finally getting some answers on what happened to fabled space hero Duck Dodgers. What does C4 know?
What?
Duck gasped.
Oh, you didn't know?
The Martian general leered.
Oh, that's right. The only one who knew was me. Allow me to enlighten you then.
He yanked his saber out and attacked Duck again, but he slid under him and away from him.
25 years ago, it was decided that if the Queen did not produce an heir, I would be named King of Mars.
Well, I can see how anything would be a step up from C4, but King of Mars isn't exactly gonna save you from getting beat up at the playground.
Duck said as he quacked atop a stone.
I meant I'd become the king, you sad excuse for a bird.
C4 cried as he sliced the stone Duck was on.
But then that saddest excuse for a space captain ever agreed to marry the queen and had you.
Duck let out a grunt as he hit the ground, then rolled when C4 tried to stab him.
Do you know how hard I worked to be king? All the wars I fought, all the planets I conquered, all the people I had to kill, all that frickin' paperwork I had to do, all so I could be king.
Duck scurried up and C4 suddenly kicked him in the chest, where he felt about 3 ribs break, before he was thrown up against a wall and held by his throat.
And you were born. That's it. All you had to do was be born, and everything I worked for, everything I hoped and dreamed for was taken from me and given to you. All my years of loyalty and hard work were for nothing.
Duck let out a struggled grunt as C4 slammed him head against the stone.
Ever hear of early retirement?
He gasped. Usually he would be fighting back, but for reason his heart was beating so loud his body wouldn't respond too well. Was he having a heart attack or something? The alien slammed him again as he continued.
Your birth ruined everything. So I decided to do what I always done when something blocked my path. Remove that obstacle.
He seethed.
So that night before you were named, I snuck into the nursery and took you aboard my ship and planned to ditch you in the center of space and say you were kidnapped by the enemy. But your dim-witted father had spotted us and decided to steal you back. Luckily I caught him and managed to grab him before he could climb into the escape pod. Unfortunately, during our fight, the idiot pushed the escape button, sending you into space. He also damaged the control systems and we crashed into a meteorite.
He threw Duck to the ground, where he let out a hard breath.
I survived, unfortunately. The abomination didn't.
So my dad was trying to save me?
Duck grunted as he tried to push himself up.
And you killed him?
He killed himself.
C4 said, coldly.
You, however, I will kill.
Daughters will die protecting our child?
Yes, he never abandoned you, my queen. He wanted to save the life of your only child, even at the cost of his own. He loved you. But even then, you'll have to live through 19 years of mourning for the both of them. In doubt if he ever loved you and sure that your only child and chance at a natural-born heir is gone. Is it really worth it, Your Majesty? No! This cannot be the case! I know with all my heart that Dodgers and Tyranny are meant to be together forever! Baby or not, premature death or not, I will defend this marriage to the very end! So, you want the object of your affection to be in unnecessary pain for almost 2 decades? If I must take you down for my pairing to become reality, so be it!
Keep reading, Flowergothic! I'll try to disarm her!
Okay. C4 almost kills Duck, but he is saved by none other than Ace Bunny. They beat him to a pulp, seemingly forgiving one another until...
Suddenly, they jumped as a laugh echoed around them. You were always too soft, Duck. I always knew didn't have what it takes to be a war king, it said. Here, let me help you. Suddenly, Duck's body moved on its own and without warning. He summoned his magma egg and blasted C4, turning him to ash.
Duck!
Ace exclaimed.
What are you doing?
It wasn't me.
Duck said as he stared at his hands fearfully.
My body moved on its own.
Suddenly, his body tried to chop Ace's head, which he dodged.
You!
Ace exclaimed. Kala laughed as a crystal stone suddenly took on her form. Neither of you are too bright, are you? She asked. Though I must admit, you two did save me a whole lot of trouble.
Kala, what's going on?
Ace demanded as he dodged another one of Duck's attacks. Why, it's very simple, Acey, Kala sang. I want to destroy the universe, and you all helped me.
What?
You heard me, she said. You see, I After I became Carvia's ruler, I learned of Spectra and the power of the Diamond of Light and decided to use it for own purposes. But Spectra had been lost for centuries, so it couldn't be easily found.
So that's where Planet Blanc came in.
Ace grunted as Duck tossed him into a wall.
Ugh.
Sorry.
Duck apologized. Smart bunny. I wanted to use Blank's wormholes to find Spectra, but I couldn't just take over the planet, no. Blank had too many allies surrounding it. Kala cooed.
So that's what this piece crap is all about.
Duck yelled as he desperately tried to stop himself. Correct! I wanted to make the little bird brain think I was a friend so I could use his wormholes. But that little canary had complicate things and invite the whole universe. She growled. I thought it would take forever for me to get here. Then I met you. She suddenly appeared behind Duck and enveloped him in her arms. I must admit, Quackers, I was shocked. All this time, I thought you were cleaning pools, but here you were, right where I needed you. From there, everything just fell into place like dominoes. I never would have thought Ducky here was the key to my perfect victory.
So then everything you said.
Ace growled as he painfully pushed himself up, not fully healed from his last battle with Duck. Kala grinned a crescent moon smile. Was it a lie?
Kala was the enemy all along, you may ask? Well, as I've mentioned before.
Keep reading! Ryan needs to hear it!
Fuck you both! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Okay!
Duck suddenly quacked behind Ace, where he grabbed his arm and broke it.
Ace!
Duck yelled before his body kicked him aside.
Stop it.
You brought this upon yourself, Duck, Kala said coldly. You got cocky, Ducky, thinking you could just leave without a word. You should have known that my wrath is not to be taken lightly. You abandoned me for these animals, and now you will pay.
What are you talking about?
Duck yelled, doing everything in his power to regain control of his body.
You're the one who disappeared without a word.
But you never looked! Kala screeched. You never looked for me! If you did, then maybe things would have been different. But you didn't! Kala then appeared in front of him and pushed him down beneath her. You didn't! She said, her voice almost cracking. When I actually needed you, you never came! You were too busy playing hero, and now it's too late! She shoved herself off of him, a crazed look in her eyes. It's too late! Suddenly, the planet began to shake and diamond rained upon them. Ace was almost hit, but he managed to dodge. He jumped when he heard Kala laugh. Pop quiz!
She cried.
Where on Spectra is the Diamond of Light? She let out a sudden laugh as spikes suddenly shot from the ground.
Gah!
Duck yelled as one appeared between his legs. He was unable to move still, so he was fortunate that none of the spikes hit him. Time's up! Kala grinned as her body became crystallized. The answer is that it's nowhere on Spectra.
Whoa!
Ace yelled as he barely missed becoming a rabbit on a stick. Kala continued. For Spectra is the Diamond of Light. Sudden, a loud sound rang throughout the planet, forcing Ace to cover his ears. Duck, who was unable to do anything, rang like a wedding bell. The planet flashed from dark to light, before suddenly going dark.
Kala still, loves Duck. A part of her revenge is due to him never bothering to look for her, which is rather heartbreaking.
Don't you dare stop! It's a good thing you love diamonds as much as I do, Duck, because here will be your final resting place. Kala's voice entered. Oh, and Acey? The Guardian suddenly appeared in her hand. Cool sword. Unfortunately, it's useless to me, so you can have it back. She threw the sword at him, and it would have pierced him, but then something unexpected happened. Ace's eyes widened. Duck, who managed to use his powers to quack in front of Ace in time to take the blow, fell to his knees with the Guardian's sword in his chest. Kala stared at him in shock, with an unreadable, before turning away. What an idiot, she said. Ace glared at her, full of rage.
You!
He leaped at her, but when he tackled her to the ground, she shattered into crystals. Some leader you turned out to be in the end. Her voice echoed with a laugh. I wonder, will you be able to use the sword that killed your friend? Ace's eyes widened, and he turned back to Duck, who laid in pool of his dark blood as it stained the crystal around him.
Duck!
As Ace ran to him, he heard Kala's laugh. This is just the beginning! With that, her voice and blue glow around them faded.
Jim!
Duck choked out before the light vanished and he passed out.
Duck!
Flowergothic? Flowergothic!
Well, that takes care of that problem.
You bitch! Do you have any idea how big a deal Spectra is? Must I have the book explain it to you? My son almost died. He was lucky to have awoken on planet Freeling, surrounded by his friends, even Zadavia and Optimatus.
Okay.
Oh, fuck you!
So, you have no idea what happened to Jim?
Duck asked. Tuck shook his head.
Nope. She and her snakes vanished while we were losing blood.
He said.
I'm more worried about Spectra.
Zadavia said.
Yeah, what's the story on that place anyway?
Ace asked, seriously. Any playful tone he had in the past seemed to have vanished now, was replaced with a stern one.
And why is it so important to Kala Mity?
To his surprise, it was Optimatus who replied.
Spectra is the diamond planet, and possibly the most powerful planet in the universe. All the light in the universe comes from it.
He explained.
Without it, the sun, the moon, the stars, none of it can shine. Therefore, there is no light in the whole universe.
And without any light, the universe will quickly perish except for a few planets that thrive on darkness.
Zadavia finished.
And it's all because of me.
Ace growled as he clenched his fist.
All because once again I trusted the wrong person.
Lexi put a hand on his shoulder.
Ace, you can't blame yourself.
She said.
Kala had us all fooled.
But I'm the leader. I should have known better, especially after what happened with Juice.
He said.
Now the universe is doomed.
Zadavia walked forward.
We all make mistakes, Ace.
She said.
What's important is that we acknowledge them and try to fix them.
How do we do that?
He asked.
Nice try, Queenie, but I'm still gonna have you marry Dodgers.
What? Where am I? I can't speak? What's going on? Fancy seeing you in the void, darling. Kala Mity? Kala, Jen, it's all the same to me now. It's been ages since someone came to visit me. Ages? What is this? It's the void, darling. It's where those destroyed by obsession and revenge live out the rest of eternity. Loneliness is part of the punishment. So there's nothing else? Not for miles and miles. I heard you got killed because you obsessed over a fanfiction. That was 10 years ago. A different crazed fan shot me because she refused to believe Danger Duck's story. Ah, quackers. I loved the dumb duck, but I could never bring myself to tell him. My obsession with them and Jules, it destroyed me, darling. You know how it all ends for me. You know my passion for destruction and material things brought about my downfall. I know, Kala. I wish I could tell the fan that now. I can get you back, you know. What do you mean?
I'm sure you weren't meant to die so soon, and because I technically never existed, I have a few tricks up my sleeve. What do you mean? Does this look familiar? The gun she shot me with? But why? You're going to need it, trust me. Now lay down, close your eyes, and think about how you died. Okay. Good luck, darling. Thanks for visiting.
What? You're alive?
Indeed, Ryan dear, and now I am here to finish the story.
Oh, Flowergothic! I'm so happy. I already told her about Zidavia and her brother.
Well, thanks for keeping it up while I was away. Let's read. After another flashback, the one about the coin to be specific, Duck realizes that sometime after the meteor, Kala snapped. But why? What could cause a simple sunhimedere to go off the deep end? And if you don't believe that's the case...
No one tells me what I can do! Kala Mity cried as she stomped her heel on the reedy floor beneath her. Especially you! My lady, please. Her advisor begged. I beg you to listen. If you do this, I can have whatever I want, she said stubbornly. And I want that diamond, the most wonderful jewel in all the universe. Let me try to explain this once again, Your Highness. The advisor said desperately, if anything should happen to that precious gem, I don't want to listen to you anymore. With that, the princess snapped her fingers, and through the doors, 2 large carvians appeared and started towards the advisor. Desperate, he tried to reason with her again. If you do this, you'll destroy everyone! Ignoring his pleas, the princess ordered, take him away! You'll destroy yourself! The Carvians came closer, and in a desperate attempt, he pulled out a laser gun to shoot the princess, but before he could attack Jem, suddenly appeared in front of him, and with her bare hand caught his face, and within one moment, he became surrounded by a bright light. When the light was gone, all that was in her hand was a small crystal. With a slight smirk, she tossed the crystal to her guards, who took it away to throw in the treasure room, filled with other crystals that once had a beating heart and flesh. With the minor annoyance handled, the princess slipped her glove on and walked back to her throne. There she lifted an emerald onto her lap and began to stroke it like a cat. No one is going to stop me, she hissed as her bright eyes glowed. Not him, not the lunatics, and defiantly not Duck, she thought. In her emerald she could see her reflection. She frowned at it as she clutched the gem. If I cannot be loved, she whispered. No one will! Another voice, deep, deep within the palace walls, unseen by all, growled.
Yeah. Time passes and Duck recovers and trains with Zidavia. The lunatics decide to use Freeling soldiers to take out Carvia's serpent army, and Duck himself will convince Kala to stop her evil ways. How is he feeling about all this?
Duck couldn't hold it in anymore. His body gave out as he started to cry over so many things that he never cried over before. The pain of feeling abandoned as a child, the pain of losing something he had waited so long to gain, the pain of constantly being overlooked by someone, the pain of knowing his father died because of him, the pain of his mother suffering, the pain of being betrayed by the ones he had once cared about most. All the years of repressed tears came flooding in the darkness of the universe, and the whole time, Zidavia held him close so he would not have to endure this dark night alone.
I wasn't lying when I said the fanfic made Duck emo. Ace gets it too.
He clenched his eyes as he remembered Duck almost being killed by the sword that proved his leadership. He blew it. If he had been a better leader, the universe wouldn't be endangered. If he had just trusted his friend for once, he wouldn't have been hurt, both emotionally and physically. If he hadn't listened to Kala, then none of this would have happened. But he did, and now the one who was suffering the most was Duck.
But in all honesty, one thing I enjoy about this fanfiction, and one thing that, looking back, made me obsessed, is that Rashuanu gave Duck and Ace dimensional personalities. Duck is a lancer who holds a grudge for seemingly being the laughingstock of the team and vulnerable to manipulation from the ones he loves. Ace is a perfectionist who second-guesses himself the moment he makes a mistake and beats himself up over every flaw he has. And you know what their personalities were in the oh-so-edgy show? Ace was leader. Duck was Daffy in space. That was it. And sure, I'd love to see more characteristics beyond Lexi as girl and such, but this is a Danger Duck fanfiction, so I can forgive that. The next day, the Lunatics and Co. meet up with the Martian army, led by Melvin. Duck uses his chest crystal to head over to Carvia, but it doesn't take long for Kala to realize that they're there. The loonies aren't too late, of course. Kala ordered the construction of her very own Death Star to tow Spectra into her clutches. She even stole the generator to do that. Remember the generator? Whatever shall I do?
Ace went completely blank.
I...
Duck waited for Ace to say something, but the ship gave another jolt. He gave up on him.
Tech, you, Rev, and Slam get on that giant ship and disable the generator. Zadavia, you stay here and try to hold off this unholy legion of snakes with Shorty here. Ace, Lexi, and I will handle her royal pain in the butt.
He ordered. Then he grabbed Lexi and Ace and teleported to the planet, where the rest of the Lunatics ran to an escape pod so they could get to the planet-sized ship.
Anyone know how to fly a Mars ship?
Tech asked.
Nope, not a clue. Unless you count the ship from Space Invaders 5000.
Rev replied. Tech let out a sigh.
Now, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to talk about each of these subplots one by one. You're just killing time, you fucker!
Shut up and let her speak!
Thank you! Tech, Slam, and Rev suit up in their snazzy spacesuits and work to find an entrance into the Carvian Death Star. Slam holds the enemy fleet off and they enter through the garbage chute. Okay then. They're immediately surrounded, but don't worry!
Any ideas? Because the plan would be really good right now.
Rev said.
Just one.
Tech said.
We fight.
With that, he uses magnetic powers to send a strip off of the floor at one side of the Carvians that surrounded them, while Slam uses Tornado to blow away the other.
This way!
They all started running, more Carvians on their tails.
What now?
It's too dangerous to blow up the ship. We all might get caught in the explosion.
Tech said as they ran.
Our best bet is to disable the generator. First, we'll need to find it.
Right! How hard can it be?
Rev stopped in shock when he came to the center of the room, and there were more hallways and stairways than he had ever seen in his entire life.
Oh my god.
They're okay. They then split up to find the generator. While they do that, let's move on. Zadavia and Melvin are having a blast defeating the Carvian ships. Are they succeeding? Well...
Zadavia, reports show we have lost our frontal forces.
Melvin reported.
What about the first unit?
We've lost contact with them.
When Zadavia heard this, she frowned.
Hurry, lunatics! At this rate, we won't be able to hold out much longer.
She thought.
No. It gets to the point where the latter gets on his space scooter in order to fight them himself. How does that go?
In the midst of the space battle, Melvin was thinking the same thing as he dodged a powerful attack. He then used his own laser gun to blast out the jets.
How's it going out there?
Sadavia asked.
Oh, it's just peachy.
And he was very beat up, and despite their best efforts, Frowling was losing in the battle against the Carvians. If this kept up, the whole fleet would be wiped out.
If things don't turn in our favor soon, we'll have to retreat.
Have faith, Commander.
Sadavia said.
The lunatics will come through for us.
Do you have alcohol on that ship? If so, I want some.
He growled as he blasted at another ship. Suddenly, much to his surprise, all the Carvian ships vanished into thin air.
Huh? Ugh!
Commander!
Sadavia yelled in worry just before the Mars ship was blasted as well.
Ah!
Even worse! They're alive though, but the book won't tell us that for a little bit. Moving on, Ace, Lexi, and Doug race to Carvia's palace to stop Kala before it's too late, but she seems to have a few tricks up her sleeve.
You'll never win, you know.
Huh?
Duck stopped as he whipped around, looking for Kala.
Duck?
Lexi said as she stopped.
You okay?
Duck didn't reply, for he heard Kala's voice again. Even if you do make it past my guards and into my fortress, do you think you could beat me? She purred.
Where are you?
Duck yelled.
Huh?
Ace said as he frowned at Duck.
Duck, what's wrong?
Jim? She's here?
Duck could hear Kala laugh inside her mind. Even without my power, I've always been strong, she said. That's why you stuck by me, isn't it? Because I could protect you.
Jim!
Duck yelled as he rapidly whipped around.
Come on already, show yourself.
She uses her ability to control him physically, making him almost kill Ace and Lexi. And Duck snaps.
I'm here because you were right.
When he said that, the grip slightly loosened, so Doug continued.
You were right. I did abandon you. After I gained my power, I went back to your place and I couldn't find you. I remember thinking that you were probably with that guy still. Then I thought that maybe this was my chance to become stronger than you. I thought that if I could do that, then you would look down on me anymore. I thought that I didn't need you to become strong. I never once considered that you might have needed me. That's why.
Doug grit his teeth as he fought for control of his body, surprising Kala.
That's why I'm gonna fix it.
He yelled as he managed to force himself to his knees.
I'll bring you back no matter what it takes.
Sweat was rolling like a fountain off him, and he was grunting loudly. Lexi and Ace stared at him, but dared not get too close.
Wake up, Jim. This isn't how you work.
He yelled as he fought.
Jim, just tell me what happened.
Even after all the abuse, the manipulation, the fighting, he still loves her. He doesn't want to outright kill her. He just wants Jem back in his arms. Will he get her? Meanwhile, a shadow lurks under the palace.
Deep within the palace walls, locked far beneath, a strange creature looked at her long, claw-like hand.
I'll never be the same again.
I mention this because it will be relevant later, dear viewer. Ace doesn't understand why Duck is suddenly defending Kala after all she did to them, and Ace asks the armor-piercing question.
What's going on here, Duck? Are you in love with her?
Duck blinked in surprise when Ace asked him that. In love? Him? With Jem? No way! That was impossible! Sure, he cared about her, but he also hated her. She tried to kill him. There was no way, right? Lexi grabbed Ace's arm and yanked him away from Duck.
Ace, stop it! What's with you?
She asked.
Even if she is an evil witch, she was Duck's friend for years. Heck, she was his wife. Not to mention, this is Duck.
Hey, what's that mean?
Duck frowned.
Good to know that we can have a funny moment, even in the depths of a depressing fanfiction. But then...
Remember Boys,
A voice hissed.
we're home now. No holding back!
After that, dark laughs surrounded the lunatics before multiple cuts appeared all over them, no doubt caused by the creature's claws. Doug cried as he staggered, mortally wounded like his friends.
Damn it!
Tech, Rev, and Slam manage to defeat the Carvians they come across, and they discover the generators on the 98th floor. They go there after learning of Zadavia's death, and...
Now, how do I do this?
He didn't have to figure this out, for just then, Slam threw the guard into it and the generator exploded.
Yeah!
Rev yelled as he jumped away from the blast. Then he gave Tech a goofy look.
Consider it disarmed.
Tech just sighed as he ran a hand over his eyes.
Well, I guess that solves the problem. The Davia is revealed to be alive and continues the fight off screen, because of course she does. And while this all is going on, the three amigos stammer towards a possible entrance.
Lexi, Ace, and Duck stared at what seemed to be a crystal patch and noticed that there were many more leaving elsewhere.
What's this?
Lexi asked.
Meh, don't ask me to understand Jim's taste and stuff. Her old place had faces carved into it that looked like they belonged to the portrait of the screen.
Ace's eyes followed the path.
It looks like it leads over there. Should we follow?
He asked.
Well, we're not gonna get anywhere standing around.
Duck said as he staggered ahead. The two bunnies groggily followed, hoping that there weren't any enemies ahead.
And so we reach the final battle. Duck chooses to go alone, as he still has faith that the gem he knew is still there. Well, okay, he doesn't choose. Kala turns Ace and Lexi into crystal before he does. A shadow also appears, somehow manipulating the hidden figure.
If you are beautiful, then you are loved, it whispered. But if you are not, then what are you?
A monster.
The shadow said as it took the form of a beautiful woman with long ebony hair and toxic green eyes that glowed as bright as a beacon. She seemed to be made of smoke as she floated over the creature.
A monster that could not be loved or worshipped, only hated and feared.
Her voice was misty and breathless as she spoke.
That's right.
The creature said as she covered the glowing eye with a long spider-like claw.
If you're beautiful, you're loved. If you're ugly, you are hated and quickly become the source of torment for others. All these years, the only thing that ever protected me was my beauty. Without it, what do I have?
Absolutely nothing.
The woman cooed.
After all, when you're a beast, power doesn't matter, and neither does brains or a crown. All you are is a beast to be slain.
She wrapped her arms around the poor beast.
That's why you have to get them before they get you. You have to destroy them before they turn on you. But first you have to make them suffer. Suffer for the pain you've had to suffer.
And suffer they will!
The beast roared.
Okay, I'm going to be upfront. This Shadow Woman is only here to serve as the main villain in the sequel, which I will not cover because, again, it's irrelevant and doesn't do much in regards to this book. So please, 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 please assume that this demon just convinced herself she's ugly and she's hearing her inner thoughts or something. Why? I think that makes her a much more interesting character. Why is that relevant?
Doug fell to his knees as he stared at his friends who were now crystals.
Aw, don't look so sad. I think they look better this way.
Kala laughed. Doug clenched a fist as he grit his teeth.
Well, you do have a point. However, you still went too far.
He summoned an egg and used his powers to destroy the spears. Then he quacked to the end of the cave where a large door was completely blocked by crystal. He used his egg to destroy it and then stepped into a dark room that was completely dark.
Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out! A voice yelled.
Duck squinted through the darkness to try and see the owner of the voice. It sounded like Kala, but something was different.
Sorry, babe, but you know how bad I am at taking orders.
He summoned an egg to light up the place, but just a moment later, he wished he hadn't.
Jim?
He gasped as he took a step back. Doug took a startled step back as he stared with wide, frightened eyes. Before him was a blue monster with long spider claws. Spines decorated its back, and 3 long horns jutted out of its head along with bleached blonde locks. And a long, scaly tail.
Jim?
Doug gasped as he stared at the monster in shock.
Yikes, trying a new look?
Don't look at me!
Kala shrieked, making the whole area shake. Spears appeared once again, stabbing through one of his legs repeatedly until it was ripped to shreds. He cried as he fell back, clutching what was left of it.
Jim, what the hell happened to you?
Do you want to know what happened?
Kala cried as she suddenly appeared in front of him. Using her long diamond claws, she pinned him to the wall, making him cry out in pain as his body slowly became crystal.
The same meteor that gave you your perfect life destroyed mine! After I was kind enough to drop you off at work, I went to see a certain guy about a diamond. When I saw the jewel, I wanted it. I asked if I could touch it. Well, at first he was less than willing, but I persuaded him. Just as I managed to grab that wonderful gem, however, that accursed meteor crashed. As enveloped by that rainbow light, I felt myself change. I still remember the pain of these accursed horns ripping their way through my head.
And this is why I'm disregarding the shadow. All her life, Kala had to use her looks to get what she wanted. She was only loved for her looks, so she was nothing without them. She even says so herself.
You don't get it!
She shrieked as she smacked him with her tail.
When I became this, everyone turned on me. It was just like I was always told. Without my beauty, I was nothing. Suddenly, I was only a monster that was reject on sight. And now I can't even touch anything without it turning into crystal.
But this leads to one question. How was Kala able to regain her human form? This book never explains it, so I have 2 theories. Number 1. Kala is able to project herself as a human whenever she's emotionally stable. As she is heavily unstable in the finale, this facade was dropped and cannot be regained. Number 2. Kala uses gems to develop a human form while her true monster form remains in the palace. It's been established she can control things, so she can definitely control a puppet as her eyes and ears in the outside world. Which one do you think it is? Discuss! But alas, we reach the final battle. Duck versus Kala, light versus dark. But good versus evil? Not particularly.
Oh, the only reason you put up with me all these years was because I was pretty. You said so yourself.
She leaped at him, and Duck managed to quack out of the way, which was lucky for him because the area he was in was crushed to bits.
I just said that. You of all people should know I don't mean half of what I say.
He yelled. Then what do you mean, moron?
At this point, quacking was his only defense against Kala.
All these years you said the same kind of things to me, and I don't know what the hell you mean.
I don't either! She cried. I don't know. All I know is that I liked being with you. Even though we were always fighting, I loved those moments. I don't know why, but I did.
Duck stared at her with wide eyes as she continued.
But none of that matters anymore!
The whole area shook, and this time, Duck wasn't able to dodge Kala's claws, which sent him rolling back.
I'm a monster! That's all I am!
Duck squinted at her through his pain and saw that Kala had a crazed look on her face as she cried.
I'm a monster! An ugly, hideous monster that can never be loved!
That's not true.
Duck yelled.
You're a spoiled brat, but you're not a monster. You're Jim. You're strong, determined, you protect those you care about.
Then why am I like this? She cried. What did I do wrong? Why did I turn to this while you remained the same? We were both the same. We were both the same until that day. So why? Where did I go wrong? What was my mistake? Where did everything fall apart?
Jim.
He then let out another cry of pain as he felt Kala's claws rip into him.
Tell me! Was it when the meteor hit? Was it when I tricked that horned man into adopting me? Was it when those bullies started to pick on me? Was it when Mom abandoned me? When? There are others worse than me, you know. They deserve to die. They all deserve to die! Even if they don't deserve to, they will die because I said so!
Jim!
Duck cried as he broke through some crystal when she threw him. He whimpered as he tried to push himself up.
Jim, why am I not reaching her? Is it too late? Is she really?
He didn't get to finish that thought, for just then, Kala appeared in front of him with a grinning shadow.
And you will die because I said so!
In that moment, extreme, overwhelming fear overtook him to such an extent that he raised his free arm and blasted a powerful egg at Kala. Two piercing shrieks filled the cavern, and a shadow fled as Kala fell forward. Duck stared at her with blue eyes filled with despair.
No!
Lexi and Ace let out a startled breath as the crystal that trapped them began to melt away.
What happened?
Lexi asked.
Never mind that. Where's Duck?
Ace asked as all the crystal around them began to vanish. When the crystal vanished from Duck's body, he quickly crawled to Jim's side, ignoring his own wounds.
Jim! Jim, please. This is where you're supposed to blast me for hurting you. Come on. Don't die. Kill me. Destroy the universe. Just don't die.
Lifted her in his arms. And because of this, Duck's arms were turning into an orange crystal.
Don't die.
Jim gave him a weak smile as her vision faded.
Am I pretty?
No. But I still love you.
Duck cried, tears filling his eyes.
Jimmy.
Lexi cried as she watched him, but neither she nor Ace could say a word, and they didn't dare to. All they could do was watch him in silence as he cried over the loss of his friend, tormentor, and wife.
Kala Mity died from her own obsessions. She never did tell Duck that she loved him, despite being obsessed with him. That and her obsession with her looks snapped her when that meteor hit, and thus resulted in her own ending. But in those final moments, Jem was there. Jem was there to ask one final question to the love of her life, Danger Duck.
After Kala's demise, the Carvians cease their attack, for there is no longer a reason to fight without their queen.
Spectra's power returned, and with it the light to the universe had returned as well.
Earth was more than a bit upset at the destruction of their generator, but they decided it was for the best.
Zadavia returned to Furlong with her ships, while the lunatics returned to Mars with Melvin.
Duck's arms were completely crystallized and his left leg was completely torn, so all three were replaced with robotic limbs made from Mars technology.
Even he failed to retrieve the Diamond of Light. Because he defeated Kala Mity, he had proven his worth and was now free to take the throne of Mars any time. Since he was Kala's husband, he was also the king of Carvia and could take that throne as well.
With the re-evaluation of C4's betrayal, Duck Dodger's name was cleared, and Earth once again had its chance to make peace with Mars. After he gained his new limbs, Duck took Kala to Spectra alone, where he built her a tomb where she could rest in peace.
Why?
He wondered as he held the paper crown in his new robotic hands.
Why couldn't I have just said I loved you before? Why didn't you say it? Why did we play this stupid game instead? If we had just been honest, would you still be here?
The young prince's question was never answered and could not be answered, and all the what-ifs he held within him would soon become the ultimate grief of the Prince of Mars.
The end. It's a somber note, but it goes to show that despite how messy this book can be, from the spelling errors to the bizarre plot points, it's beautiful. It does what I guess I wanted Lunatics Unleashed to be. A story made for love, not for money or popularity points. No, this book isn't perfect. Yes, it could have been written better, but this was the story that got me into writing. This was the story that inspired me to open my own YouTube account and make tribute videos on One True Media. This was the story that led me towards becoming the creator that I am today, and I can't bring myself to hate it. I'm sorry. Ryan, is this the future you want for Her Majesty, the Martian Queen? Are you that willing to give her years of mourning and pain just so your OTP can be real? Is it worth it? You know what? Yes. What? I don't care if she must suffer. I've had to suffer for years just so Adam Lambert can be my daddy. It's not fair.
Life is unfair, you idiot. Don't you know that?
Fuck you!
Is she dead?
No. Ryan's just going off somewhere to heal. She'll be back one day, but she probably won't hurt you again.
That's good.
That was just peachy, my queen.
Commander!